Hello! Well, as I write this, we're at the end of 2025, but you're surely watching this in 2026. So it's almost like we're in 2 different years at once. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, it's time for me to tell you about my top 10 favorite video games that I played in 2025. As usual, my list is not limited to games that were released in 2025. Any game that I played in 2025, no matter when it was released, is eligible. I know that might sound wild, but bear with me. Okay, enough talk, on with the list. After watching a friend play through a TurboGrafx game called Silent Debuggers, I was reminded of Enemy Zero, an atmospheric horror game from the creator of D, which I loved as a kid. So I tried it for the first time this year. The protagonist is the same digital actress as the player character in D, which just means that they use the same character design. Her name is Laura in both games, but it's not supposed to be the same character as far as I know. Laura is frozen in hypersleep aboard a spaceship called the Aki. She wakes up right as some kind of aliens break loose on the ship and start killing her friends. As Laura, you have to make your way through the ship and try to survive encounters with the enemies. By the way, the enemies are invisible and kill you in one hit. If that wasn't bad enough, you also have to watch the Game Over cinematic, go back to the title screen, reload your save, and listen to Laura recap what she was doing each time you die. Yeah. It's not a game I would recommend to everyone, but I will say that I appreciate weird games like this. The story throws in a few wild twists, which made it exciting. In terms of gameplay, it shares the same slow-paced FMV investigation sequences with puzzles that make up the entirety of D, but it also has a real-time 3D survival horror gameplay mode that the game switches to whenever you're going between rooms. During these sections, you have to listen to a chirping tone in Laura's earpiece in order to determine the enemy's proximity and direction, and you have to get pretty close in order to actually kill the things, which can be frustrating at times. That being said, I had fun with it, and I'd like to thank the brave soul who made all of the maps as well as the walkthrough on GameFAQs. VJ Smith, you made it so I could enjoy this game in the year 2025, so cheers to you, buddy. I had never played any Persona or Persona-adjacent games before, but it's hard not to at least know about them if you live on the internet. I decided to start with Persona 3 Portable since I thought it would be cool to play as a girl. If you didn't know, it's an RPG set in 2009 where evil beings run amok during the dark hour, and the only ones who can save the world are some high schoolers, along with a kid, a dog, and a robot who all have special powers. It was pretty fun. While I didn't gel with a few of the characters, I was surprised at how much I liked some of the core party members, especially Junpei and Yukari. Fusing new personas was really addicting, and I found myself trying to optimize the ability sets that my fusions would get. There were some really awesome looking personas, and I was constantly checking back in at the Velvet Room to see if I could make a new one. By the same token, it hurt whenever I had to retire an old favorite. I'll never forget you, Mothman. All in all, I have a more concrete understanding of these games and why they resonate with people, and it was a fun RPG to chill out with. I was familiar with God Hand, but I had never played it until this year. I bought a digital copy of it on the PS3 online store last year, where it's still available in case you didn't know. Anyway, I thought it was not only a great action game, but it truly embodies the beat-em-up spirit as well. On the surface, it's a crazy slapstick game with intentionally terrible jokes, but the substance of the game is a very well-crafted brawler. The essence of hand-to-hand combat, even if it is very over-the-top, is present, and you'll need to grasp the ins and outs of both offense and defense. While there is an adaptive difficulty level that adjusts itself based on how well you're doing, fighting more than one enemy at a time will always require some strategizing. It can be frustrating because there really aren't any camera controls. The right analog stick is just for dodging. At some point, I realized that the radar is actually pretty useful when you're under pressure, as it can be hard to keep track of enemies and power-ups when the action gets intense. I could tell that the game was made by the same people that made Resident Evil 4 when I saw Gene perform Leon S. Kennedy's head-crushing suplex, which is probably one of my favorite moves from any video game. It's very fun but a bit exhausting to play for a long period of time. I can only handle one stage or less per session, but maybe that's just me getting older. If you have the means, check it out, especially if you like action games. I've had Divinity 2 on Steam for a very long time, but only just got around to playing it this year. Lately, I've been wanting to play more fantasy games, and I'm always down to play an action RPG, so this game was a perfect fit. You play as a freshly recruited dragon slayer who starts out on a quest to slay dragon knights. However, your character's journey is interrupted when they are granted the power to become a dragon, and their purpose shifts. To be honest, it didn't quite click with me at first. I liked jumping around the big open world and talking to people, but I think my initial combat build was pretty bad. Maybe it would have felt bad no matter what stats and skills I had picked. But once I hit a certain point in the story, I was able to accelerate my character growth to a point where I felt pretty much invincible. That was a good feeling, and I started to really enjoy the freedom they give you, even though pretty much every encounter felt the same. I like when a game just says F it and lets you make your own fun. The coolest thing about this game is that once you gain the ability, you can turn into a dragon and just fly around whenever you want as long as you're out in the open. And as a dragon, you do get to lay waste to your enemies to an extent, but it's always in controlled environments. I played through the Developer's Cut version, which combines the base game and the Flames of Vengeance DLC. During the final mission of the DLC, my experience was marred by two bugs. First, all of the sound just cut out completely, so I tried reloading and restarting. And then, in my attempts to fix it, it glitched out in a way such that it was basically impossible to lose. After taking the easy win, the sound came back, and I found that I had enjoyed my time with the game, even with those bugs at the very end. I had been wanting to check out more Platinum games, so this year I tried Astral Chain for the first time. Similar to other Platinum games, it's an action game with a linear chapter-based structure, but it has a few unique flourishes. You pick either member of a brother and sister duo at the beginning, and you even get to design their looks. Whichever one you don't pick plays a role in the story, which I thought was neat. There are also quite a few side quests and fun little activities that you can distract yourself with. Since you play as a cop, there is quite a bit of investigation to the gameplay, so it's not balls-to-the-wall action all the time. I enjoyed the atmosphere of the police station mainly because the background music is one of the hardest vibers of all time. I also liked the cute and colorful coworkers, and they have plenty of dialogue that makes it fun to hang out with them. There's also a twist. You control not only your character, but another character that is attached to yours by an astral chain. You can use the chain to wrap up and stun enemies. It can be very confusing to control at times, but with enough practice, I was able to wrap my head around it. My first impression was positive. Even though I felt like I didn't have many options in the fights at the beginning of the game, I assumed that I would unlock more attacks and other abilities not long after that. In reality, the acquisition of abilities is very gradual. Not having all of the tools available and the learning curve for the controls made me feel like I was trash at the game, and the bad grades I was earning on the battles didn't help. But by the end, I was pretty happy with my power level, and it really felt like I had come a long way. I love the Somnium Files games as well as the Zero Escape series, so I was eagerly anticipating this game. To me, these games are wonderful, but all I want is to hang out with the characters that I love and watch them interact with one another, so I'm not hard to please. The story of No Sleep for Kaname Date fits between the previous two Somnium Files games. In fact, it picks up immediately after the resolution of the first game's story. Iris Sagan, aka Aset, gets abducted by aliens and is forced to play an escape game. She calls up her pal Kaname Date for help, and that's where the story begins. I thought of this game as a late-season episode of a TV series, where the characters have already been established and the conflict comes from someone or something else. It is pretty short, but I prefer short games to long ones these days. The escape rooms were a really fun addition. Honestly, they're what I've always wanted out of the series. There were a lot of fun unlockable extras that made me chuckle. The voice actors are a big reason why I find the characters so endearing. Even Date, whose perversion knows no bounds, is a charming guy thanks to the comedic timing of his actor. I am truly thankful that such a goofy, lower-budget game that's such a fascinating blend of comedy, mystery, and drama can exist today. And I hope that games like this continue to be made in the future because they bring so much joy to my heart. I got a Mister this year, and my favorite thing to play on it was the Japanese arcade version of Ghouls and Ghosts. I tried the US version as well, but the checkpoint system was all messed up, so I stuck with the other one. I've always really enjoyed this series, even though I was never very good at them. I'm still not good, but I can beat both loops of the arcade game much more easily than I could before. It's all about trying to minimize the amount of BS that will ruin your day, but sometimes the planets align and you get knocked into an axe power-up, and then you feel like the universe has conspired against you. But with enough practice and knowledge, you can find the hidden treasure chests and work your way back from the checkpoint over and over until you squeak by, and that's what I love about this game. It's short enough that you can take it one step at a time and come up with strategies for each roadblock. The second loop even encourages you to take another crack at the game and test what you've learned, which I think is pretty cool. Somehow it never gets old, and there's never a dull moment. It's a perfect mix of testing both your memorization and your twitch reflexes. I actually played through Bloodstained Ritual of the Night a few years ago, but I felt like replaying it this year, and I found myself having a lot more fun this time. Maybe it's because I've now played the games in the Castlevania Dominus collection, and I know better where the ideas present in this game originated. I'm sure most people are familiar with this game, but if not, it's a spiritual successor to the Igavania games in the Castlevania series. You play as Miriam the Shardbinder, which is someone who has been tainted with demonic powers, and you journey into a castle inhabited by your old friend who has been possessed by an evil entity. I like these games because I enjoy exploring, fighting monsters, and acquiring their powers. You can also equip a wide variety of weapons and very fashionable armor, not to mention craft items, cook food, do side quests, and on top of all of that, you even get a little familiar to follow you around and be your friend. I really like the movement options in these games, and I will spend a lot of time just backdash, crouch canceling, and double jump dive kicking through rooms. I don't even care how complicated it is, I will tie my fingers in knots trying to execute the goofiest maneuvers I can find while running into all of the enemies, and I'll still have fun with it. I should also mention that it had been a long enough time since my first playthrough that I had forgotten where most of the hidden stuff was, so it was almost like a fresh experience. So yeah, I enjoyed replaying Bloodstained with a new perspective, and I had fun sliding around and searching for secrets. "50 complete games, even if they are short and simple, is an unbelievable amount to stuff into one package. The most compelling thing about UFO 50 is actually the exploration and discovery of such a wide variety of games. It's a cool opportunity to step outside your comfort zone. I definitely found a few titles that I wasn't expecting to like, but I ended up loving them. There's actually too much game in this game for me to talk about every single one, because I haven't even played some of them, and there are a handful that I want to play more of before I review them, but I can briefly tell you about my top 8. Number 8, Barbuta. My experience with the La Mulana games helped me with this one, I think. It's a great bite-sized version of an esoteric platformer. There are still a few things I haven't figured out, so I might revisit it later. Number 7, Avianos. This is a weird turn-based strategy game with birds that I knew nothing about and had an amazing experience with. After a few attempts at beating the CPU on the 3rd difficulty level, I had a really long match where they were trying to stall my army with constant snowstorms, and they even forced me to recapture a base a few times so I wouldn't lose. I had a really strong economy though, so I could pretty much create an entire army in one turn. Our match ended with the CPU attacking the hotly contested base that I controlled with 3 different armies, but I ended up winning, and it was an exhilarating victory. Number 6, Night Manor. It's a very good horror-themed point-and-click adventure. I loved how they didn't try to diminish the scary atmosphere with too many cute or funny gags. I got stuck for a long time in this one because I missed opening a single drawer, and I had to look up one thing to get the cherry. I slapped my forehead after I realized what I had missed. But I still thought it was great. Number 5, Valbrace. When I first saw this game, I said, this is awesome. And it is. Dungeon crawling mixed with punch-out combat seems like a no-brainer. I haven't beaten this one yet since it's pretty difficult, but I'll keep at it. Number 4, Hyper Contender. I had never seen it before playing it, and I had zero expectations about it, but it's super fun. It's like a tug-of-war fighting game with platforming dynamics that is simple but very addicting. You can be 1 point away from losing a match, and then bring it back if you play well and get lucky enough. My main is Sephi because I like floating and throwing hammers. Number 3, Mooncat. I was not expecting to like this game because I don't really like precision platformers, but this game is different. The challenge comes from wrapping your head around the unintuitive controls, but once you can do that, there are a lot of useful maneuvers to discover. I just really like this game. Number 2, Rakshasa. This game is so hard, but I love it. It's very reminiscent of Ghouls and Ghosts in many ways, mainly that the amount of difficulty will change drastically depending on what weapon you have. I still haven't beaten this one, but I'm going to keep trying. Number 1, Bushido Ball. I just love creative one-on-one sports games like this. I got absorbed in learning the intricacies of how to move, hit the ball, and strategizing on how to score against the CPU. I'm a Tomoe main because her grappling hook is such an effective clutch defense move, and I love using it to snatch that orb away from the opponent. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is a puzzle game that feels confusing at first, but it encourages you to use your intuition. And I found that, more often than not, I was able to figure things out. It felt like I was really solving a mystery, and each puzzle was a piece of the greater picture. The puzzles were also the perfect level of commitment for me. They're like an escape room where the information to solve something is usually within your immediate grasp. Even the narrative itself is a puzzle. There is a concrete story to be found, but in order to understand it, you must literally figure it out. It's not a game where you need to come up with your own interpretation, because you'll be busy trying to come up with any interpretation at all.
I am an old woman. I'm yesterday's news. I dream in black and white, see it all through laser eyes.
It's a game about artists working together to create something special. Now, I wouldn't describe myself as particularly cultured in any way, but I do love art. Artists are just people, and like all people, they can come across as weird, pretentious, egotistical, or any other negative trait. But the art that they create is neutral, and we can only judge it by how the art itself makes us feel. And, like an engaging work of art, this game challenges you. It surprises you as you start to peel away the layers of mystery. It makes you feel exhilaration after you solve a puzzle, and then frustration once you run into another. Like many works of art, it draws inspiration from the real world, including other video games. The gameplay feels similar to a Resident Evil game, without as much horror. It's a game that you want to get to the core of and find the answers because you like figuring things out. It will stick with you because it's a conclusion that you've arrived at, not something that was explained to you. Even though I've played adventure games with puzzles before, this felt like something new. I was curious about this game because of the discussions I read about it, so if my words have piqued your interest, go ahead and check it out. And that's my top 10. What did you think of my picks? Did they suck? Or were they the best picks you've ever seen? I played a lot of Switch games this year, and I think that's reflected in my list. I also played the first Tecmo's Deception, as well as Trapped, after I enjoyed Deception 2 and 3 so much last year, but they didn't really live up to the other games in my opinion. Oh well. I wonder what kind of games I'll play through in 2026. As always, thanks for watching, and have a happy new year.